Hey, how y'all doing? It's Note Bandit back at you today. Today we're going to discuss surviving in prison. How to survive in prison, right? Okay, start off. Anamosa's first prison I went to, 1800s, built in 1800s, maximum joint. I was a 25-year-old kid, going into a maximum prison. Didn't know what to expect, just what I see on TV and shit like that, So you don't know what's going down, you don't know what's for real, but the reality is it's a gruesome, sad, lonely, discouraging, despair place, right? Despite all the good stories and all the things and everything I talk about and other content creators talk about, you got to make your life what it is when you go to prison, right? Some people say, well, you're just existing, Well, that's not a good thing to say to you, you're just existing. No, you're not. You're still living your life in there, right? You're still making choices, making decisions, about your body, about what you do, you're still alive in there. You're still talking to your people. You still got a routine, a regimen, you do every day. So just to say prisoners exist is kind of a bad thing to say, about prisoners and shit. And about some comments people leave and shit about prisoners are losers and all this shit like that. There's a lot of good people in the joint that I met through my time. You got lawyers, you got all kinds of different top-notch legal people. You got just got caught doing the wrong thing, right? There's a lot of good people in prison. Just the ones that say that it's never been there. They want to talk shit about people that's been in prison, but there's a lot of good guys in there, man. A lot of my family's in there. Dudes I've done time with for 9, 10 years. That's my family. When I had to get transferred to a different prison, it was like, sad feeling, discouraging, sad feeling because that's your family. It's the only family that you've known for 9 years. You know what I'm saying? It's a harsh reality, right? Prison's not a good place to be. It's really fucking bad. So I go to Anamosa. Just 25-year-old kid. I go there. Don't know anything. Got to learn the ropes, right? It's just you're treated like shit. You're put in a cell with somebody you don't even fucking know. You got no choices. You're always handcuffed. You're always getting shackled. I got scars on my ankles for being shackled to be moved from go to the hospital or I'm in lockup to go to the shower, come back, go to the shower, come back. I got scars on my ankles from the shackles and shit. It's just a really bad place. It makes you really feel bad about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Unless you make it different. You see, you got to make a choice when you go there to prison. If you ever go to prison, some people just lay down and give up. That's not a choice. You know what I'm saying? That's not a choice for me to do. So how I survived prison and what the reality of prison was, you got to maintain in your mind what you want to be, what you want to do. Get you a good routine down, get you a workout routine down. Get you everything so everything goes good for you. You try to make the best of the situation that you can. You know, get your body in shape. That's what I did. It was my most motivated thing was work out. I never worked out in my life. I worked out there every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. Until I got big and strong. You're going to be less of a victim if you're big and you're strong. People see how athletic you are. You're running 5 miles a day. You're boxing on the bag. You're working out with the weights and all that. You're less likely to be a victim because they see you and then be like, "Damn, I might not want to try that, dude." You know what I mean? So it's more of your image too, and then make yourself healthy and have confidence in yourself. So if you are approached, you know what you're made of. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do it for yourself. Or you lay there and die. It's your choice. You be strong, disciplined, and maintain, and get moving in your life in there, right? Life still goes around inside there. It's just a horrible place, lonely. Holidays come, no mail comes, you're sitting there in your cell and waiting for the mail every day at 4 o'clock or whatever, and then the mailman walks by. The sick feeling you feel because you got to wait 24 hours for the next day to hopefully get a letter. Every day that mailman walks by, your gut just shrinks, because you're waiting on the mail. Out here, you don't care about the mail. You don't even check the mail out here. The little things in there that matter, like on holidays and shit, you get to get a fucking hamburger or pizza, or you get to order certain things in certain prisons on holidays, steaks or this or that. But that's just a cheesy little way to satisfy you and shit. So I really didn't participate, go get a steak or this or that or something off from the streets very often because it's just all fake to me because I'm not free. I'm still in prison, so I'm not gonna pretend I'm free and have a picnic and eat steaks and all that stupid bullshit, right? It's just not for me, right? I'd rather be working out, training like a soldier, to stay strong and fit and be ready to explode at any time. You know, I'd accomplish goals I never would accomplish on the street ever. I never worked out in my life ever out here. I never ran out here in a mile ever out here. You know, I never boxed out here ever in my life. So I took all three things and united them together, to keep me going because I had so much time. I got 15 years to do. So, you got 5 years in. You got to figure something out for the next 5 years. You got to figure something out for the next 5 years to change up your schedule, to keep you going, to keep your mind and your body going to get free someday, hopefully, right? You never know if you're going to make it out of there or not. So be your best you every day, but the reality of prison is it's shit. It's always a shithole. You're always stressed out every minute of your life because when you walk out them doors every day, out of your cell, you never know if you're gonna come back to your fucking cell. And you're in your cell, all you hear is fucking noise, people screaming upstairs on the galleys and shit. It's just a fucking you're like an animal. You go outside in the cage for fucking an hour sometimes when you're locked up and shit. You know, people talking to you in the fucking cage like you're a dog, animal and shit. You know what I mean? It's just inhumane shit, right? You gotta have a strong mind and make it through there, right? Really, really, really strong, right? A lot of people kill themselves. There's a lot of suicides, a lot of fucking shit. Three or four of my guys killed themselves. It's a sad situation, man. To talk to your friend, whatever the day before, then that night he commits suicide. And you're fucked up for a while, right? And then a couple weeks, month later, someone else he kills himself. You see him going out in body bags, stretchers and shit. It's like the reality is like because some people ain't never going home, some people can't accept that, some people can't make it, everybody ain't the same. It's a harsh reality of prison. You just got to do your best and be strong and stay strong. I made it through 15 years, thank God. you know I had to do what I had to do. I had to do some ugly shit. I had to do a lot of shit went down in there. But it's a different world than out here. It's like going to Vietnam or something. That's part of your life. It's a long part of your life in there. 15 years is half my fucking life.